Hello. How's everyone feeling today? Today is 9/11, which is sadly, ever since 2001, is a historic time in the United States and for a lot of people around the world because so many people were affected by the events of 9/11. And being in the United States right now, there's a lot of behaviors being exhibited that I think is beneath a lot of people. And people justify these emotions and these behaviors partially because there's other people that egg them on, right? And that's how we kind of roll as human beings. It's that pack mentality, it's that belonging, but also from a more positive mind frame, it's that protective, right? So when you hear me talk about whether it's through Facebook, Instagram, on here, whenever I talk about pay attention to the energy, right? What is the source? Where is it coming from? A lot of the anger that people feel in this day and age, yeah, a lot of it is ego driven, and I don't care what it's about. I don't care what you consider yourself to be, whether you're conservative, whether you're liberal, whether you're, most of us are somewhere in the middle. I've said that before, right? However, there's a huge pressure to join a side, if you will. It's kind of like being a little kid in recess, right? It's like, pick a team, it doesn't have to be that, okay? If you can go back to what's driving this in the first place. And a lot of it is if people feel like their values are being overstepped. Okay, whatever those values are, people get lost in the emotion and sometimes even have a hard time pinning down where it's coming from. So it just becomes all or nothing thinking. I'll ask people sometimes, like, why do you hate this person or that person? Because I'm not biased when it comes to that, because it's really about the intention behind it, the energy, and the unhealed aspect. That's how I view life. Okay. And I'm being honest. There was a time I was very angry because I had my own leanings, my own choices, and I was very much in my ego. But that's something I've been actively working on. So what I'm talking about, and probably why I understand a lot of those base emotions, because I've been there. I've been there. After COVID and then everything happening with elections and all of the hoopla and all of the emotion being stirred up, I was very angry. Pretty much all of 2021. Up until the end, when I started getting into Reiki. Believe it or not, it was one of the most healing things I could have ever done. When I started working with the energy and trying to create something different. And it was based on the wise words of someone I had talked to. They were like, well, how can you take that and turn it into something positive for yourself? So I did. And it was the best thing I could have done. And that's basically transmuting energy, right? It's taking something that's perceived to be negative and turning it into positive, right? Or perceived to be positive, right? It was, for me, gave me a lot of peace. And it was really the beginning for me around this most recent healing journey that I've been on, okay? But that aside, I understand those base emotions. I understand where they come from because we're all human and we all have them. Okay. Sorry, I haven't washed my face yet. So I'm like, I haven't stopped today. But in any case, when we can understand where it's coming from, okay? Like most people that I don't even like to categorize as liberal or conservative because ultimately they're both sitting in the same energies. It's just the perception around their version of truth. And it's not less valid than the other. Both sides are valid, and there are people that would probably get mad at me for saying that. Whatever. You do you, boo. That's what I say to the boys. Hey, I'm just trying to talk about how to kind of break it down for your own peace of mind. Because if you're sitting in an energy, regardless of what you view truth to be or what your beliefs are, if that energy is tearing you up inside and only making you more angry, and that's what you keep kind of bringing up for yourself every time, and every time something happens in the news or someone says something, you're constantly getting triggered, how is that serving you? Now, I'm not telling you to just make up a reality or something like that, but I am telling you that there is more going on in life than just the things that trigger you, just the things that make you angry. There's a lot of really beautiful things happening. This may sound mundane, but just the other day, I was like, oh my God, I went outside. We're starting to have more fall weather here in Massachusetts. But it's still warm enough that I can walk barefoot, and I'm walking the dog and I'm feeling really good, and there's a soft breeze, and it was just every cell in my body was happy to be alive that day. Honestly, it was just in so much joy to be outside among nature and being, earthing, grounding. And then at one point I was like, okay, I was looking for some kind of communication or something, and usually at that point I'll either find a feather or I'll find something that just is a reminder that I'm not alone and I was looking for a hawk. I specifically wanted to see a hawk because I usually see a hawk a day. And then I closed my eyes and I opened my eyes. The next thing I know, there was a yellow butterfly. I was gonna record it, but I didn't. I was like, no, this is just for me. And I was so happy. I was so appreciative of that. And there are some people that probably think I'm crazy for that, and that's okay. Again, you do you, boo. However, where you're sitting, are you happy? Are you appreciating those moments in your life, regardless? It doesn't have to be a butterfly, it doesn't have to be nature, but the things that are in your life, are you appreciating those things? Or are you just always striving for the next? Or are you always, I don't know, fixed on a point or something that it's like, no, this is what matters most. So that aside, pay attention to how the energy you're sitting in makes you feel. And can you think about something else that may create a different type of energy for you? You have that power. I'm not saying make up your own fantasy, although that can be a skill as long as you don't lose yourself there. We don't want to lose ourselves in illusion. What I'm saying is, can you focus on positive things in your life? We all have them. We all have something. So that is a way to kind of switch that channel, if you will, switch that for the moment, at the very least. It's not going to make the bad go away, right? But if there's nothing you can do about it in the moment, does feeding anger and rage help you in any way? I don't know. I'm just talking here, just chatting. But that aside, usually the things we get angry about is because it is crossing a value, or it is crossing something that makes us feel like we have to become protected. We have to be, it triggers that loyalty or that protectiveness or that compassion in us that makes us angry on the behalf of, right? So people that get offended, right? I'm doing this not because you're not getting offended, but because, again, we have more choice in this than we think. And oftentimes those offenses, not always, but oftentimes they come from our own perspective and how we choose to view the situation, right? And the assumptions we jump to. I see it all the time where people are like, well, they didn't call me back. They must, and you jump to all these conclusions. And next thing you know, you find out they slept through their alarm. It wasn't because they had some nefarious thing against you or purposely was trying to keep you hanging or, things like that happen all the time. So again, when you find yourself filling in the blank, what are you filling it in with and why? Why that, right? Because it might be, I'm filling it in with unicorns and rainbows. I don't know. Doesn't make it any more true or any less true. Assumptions always need to be challenged with the opposite because you don't know the truth. So be mindful of what emotions you churn up by assumptions you make. Because some of those emotions can take us over if we're not taking ownership over our thoughts, our perspectives, and how we are working with the situation or the energy. Okay, so just be mindful of that. But if you find yourself getting offended or upset for another person, that's coming from a place of love. So how is lashing out nurturing that more positive emotion? Right? That's up there with people disagreeing with what people do for a living and then in the grandest hypocrisy doing the same thing to them to stop them from doing it to other people. It's like, well, where's your real value? And in that case, I'm talking about like, excuse me, if you disagree with someone unaliving somebody for a living, okay? I think you can fill in the blanks. And then instead unaliving them so that they can stop unaliving. It doesn't make sense. But our brains can justify a lot of things, especially if we have other people, because sometimes we take something to people and we're just sharing a belief or an idea. And if other people validate that, well, then we dig in even deeper. I don't know. There's people who believe all kinds of things in this world. All kinds of things. Because we are all different. We usually gravitate to people that are in more of alignment with us, that believe on similar issues the same way or things like that, because that's our comfort zone, right? But just be mindful that you're not feeding myopic bubbles. Okay? Always be willing to challenge your own thoughts, because when you're not, you end up self-sabotaging. And we need to be able to ask ourselves, to what end? Why am I digging in so deep? And what is my ultimate goal here? If someone's ultimate goal in trying to convince someone else that I'm right, if my goal is to convince you that I'm right so that we can get along, the ultimate goal is actually, I want to get along. I want to be on the same page with you. However, I'm refusing to meet you halfway. You have to come over here. That's all or nothing thinking. It's also very ego-based. And you see it all the time right now. So with that being said, there's been more than just one loss of life this week. And I want to honor all of the people that have been needlessly unalived, traumatized, are now in grief. And I even want to send love to the people that feed that rage and justify those behaviors, because that's not a healthy place to be either. That's a lot to sit with. So if you're struggling with how to regulate your own emotions or tolerate your own distress or find healthy ways of expressing yourself through boundaries and discernment, if you're struggling with processing grief, any of the above, if you're struggling with mental illness or anything that could potentially sabotage your own life. And what I mean by this is keep you from being happy, keep you from enjoying life. I get it. Sometimes circumstances are such a way that it's harder to enjoy life, but not impossible. And if you're struggling with finding that way, please reach out to someone who can potentially help you. Okay? And I tell people all the time, let's talk. I may or may not be the right person for you, but that is part of your own self-accountability, your own responsibility, is making sure that when you are looking for help, that you are finding someone that you truly feel comfortable with. Because otherwise, if you're not willing to go there with them, you're not going to get the help you need, depending on what it is you're looking for. Okay? But again, that's sit with yourself and figure that out. But we live in a world where people are, and I'm generalizing here because not everyone, there's a lot of people that are on a healing path. But a lot of times, and I get it, it's hard to look your demons in the eye. It is. It's hard to look at your fears and stand them down. It's hard. It's hard work. I get it. But it's so worth it. It's so worth it when you do, because you get to release so much that just allows you to float a little lighter and enjoy things a little more. In any case, my heart goes out to all those who are struggling right now emotionally for whatever reason. For past events, for the events of this week, for needless loss, for needless lashing out. We need to stop feeding the fire. Step out, look inwards, and put water on yourself, either literally or figuratively. Water is cleansing, it's healing. That's my wish for you, for all of us, to bring it back to what makes us angry in the first place, and that's that lack of what is perceived to be, anyway, lack of love. But anger does not heal anger. Being judgmental does not make people less judgmental. Feeding the same emotion with a mirrored response does not make that go away. And only ego says it has to be them first. But we do need discernment and boundaries, because not everyone is willing to change or grow or do that. So sometimes we just have to move forward without them. And that's where attachment comes in. That's not the first case scenario ever, right? That's not always the go-to. But we have no control, no true control over other people. And we have to deal with them according to the choices they make, right? The only thing we do have control over is the choices we make. So what choices are you making in your life? And are they feeding your best life, or are they self-sabotaging? Are they keeping you in a place that feels otherwise distressing? Or are you able to see yourself moving forward and growing and healing regardless of your surroundings and what's happening by people you can't control? So don't give them your power to allow them to make you upset or miserable. All easier said than done. So again, if you need help with that process, reach out. There are resources out there. There are people that are willing to work with you. You just have to be willing to work on you, because at the end of the day, we are all our own healers. Someone else is just there to assist you with the journey, to partner with you, but they are not going to wave a magic wand and make it go away. Only you can do that. But sometimes we do need guidance and support in order to make that happen for ourselves. So, at the end of the day, not a long video. I am wishing you well. I am wishing you happy. And ultimately, I am wishing you whatever it is aligned with your highest purpose and best and highest good, whatever that may be for you. So, talk soon.